remember hearing body-led eating. And I remember and trusting yourself around the food. And, I remember thinking, okay, well, I don't trust myself around food, and I never have. I don't think my body would actually guide me to eat the right things, because if I listen to my body, I might just be eating chips and cookies and pizza and French fries.
Hey, it's Nichole Kellerman-Worth, CEO of WildlyAlive.com, where we help women get on the same team as their bodies so they can feel and look their best. When a woman realizes how badass her body is, she feels alive and is no longer afraid to create the life she's always wanted. I know this to be true because it's happened to me and thousands of our clients. Welcome to the journey of getting on the same team as your body. Hello, sisters. Do I have a treat for you? So today, as you know, hopefully you listened to the last podcast episode where me, a solo episode, gave you a little intro of what we're talking about this month. We're on to an eating pillar, and the class that we're going to be moving into in Wildly Alive Mastery is called Set Free. And it's about setting yourself free from the I want to say like imprisonment, like you feel like you're in prison, like you are constantly thinking, strategizing, obsessing about food, about what you should and should not eat. And this is about setting you free from categorizing food, from calorie counting, from point counting, any of those things that keep you in this obsessive behavior with food. To have a relationship with food where the easiest example I give, and I think some people could be a little annoyed by this example, like it's even is this even possible? Because I know that when I was in an obsessive state with food, I would have thought, no, there's no way that that's possible. But having a relationship with food, like you do brushing your teeth, meaning you don't think all day about when you should brush your teeth or when you shouldn't brush your teeth, or if you should brush your teeth or if you should not brush your teeth, right? You think about brushing your teeth moments before you brush your teeth, and then you brush your teeth, and then you're done. That is how your relationship with food and eating ultimately should be. You don't think about it in between meals. You're coming up against a meal, you can feel your body desiring some food, like you're starting to get hungry, right? And then you start thinking about what you want, what your body wants. Then you sit and you eat your food, and then you're done, right? And so this is the example that I give where there is real freedom with food. You still have to think about it on some level, right? If you have a busy day and you're going to be on the road, you might want to pack some snacks, right? That's smart. That's a smart strategy of just recognizing that maybe you're somebody who snacks more. I'm more of a snacker. So I do keep snacks in my purse and snacks in my car, and I think ahead during those times. But it's not something I'm constantly thinking about. So when I thought about today's episode and bringing on a Wildly Alive sister, I wanted to bring on a sister who had the history of this, of maybe doing some cleanses or some diets or some, calorie counting, and to really give you a shining example that honoring your body and doing body-led eating is absolutely possible. Anyway, okay, Jadira, hello. Hi, dear. How are you?
Hi, how are you, Nichole?
I'm great. Okay. So do you want to first start off sharing a little bit about you and your relationship with food before Wildly Alive, and what about Wildly Alive kind of called to you when you were starting to explore jumping in to our philosophies?
Yes, absolutely. So ever since I can remember, probably since high school, I always had this struggle with weight in my mind. And then along with that, it was really me not trusting myself around food. I always felt like I had to watch what I ate. I was always on some sort of diet plan. And when I was younger, I used to call them diet plans. When I got older and I really, saw food as medicine, I used to call them like healthy eating plans. But at the end of the day, it was still this plan that I had to follow. Right. So I did, 3-day cleanses and 5-day cleanses, and I would do like a 30-day plan. And whenever I did that,
Okay,
I
Jadira,
was,
can I just interrupt you really quick? Because you brought up such a good
yeah,
point. Is we can, here's my brain fart. We can, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, deceive ourselves thinking that we're no longer dieting by
hmm,
saying, I'm doing a cleanse because I'm going to cleanse my body. I'm going to,
yeah,
I'm going to do something so I can be healthier. That's what I'm doing
right,
here. Okay. And so I did this exact same thing too, where I was like dieting all the time and I was doing all that stuff too. And then, and then it was like, well, I'm doing this for my health. Like I haven't done a cleanse in a really long time and I could tell things are a little like clogged up. And I'm just going to do like a 3-day juice cleanse. I would
right,
convince myself that I was doing
hmm,
it for my health when if
yeah,
I really was honest with myself, I just wanted to lose weight. Like
oh, yes,
it wasn't necessarily about being a staple of health. It was
right,
really like, well, I wouldn't really mind losing a few more pounds. And, this cleanse could probably do that for me too. Or I would just like try to convince myself and be like, oh, well, it's for my health. And also I will lose weight. And so
right,
we can do this to ourselves, ladies, like, and Jadira is like bringing this up so beautifully because I forgot that I did this to myself where I was like, this is wellness. I'm
yes,
this isn't diet. This is, and wellness is just now like, they're using that word, but it really is dieting. It's not, like
hmm,
people are, the whole word diet is now like so yucky and bad that people are now just
right,
finding words to use of like
hmm,
your healthiest self. But when you really dial into it, it's still based on a plan
yeah,
and good food, bad food, or whatever. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
yes, yes. I can so relate to that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? Usually my wellness cleanses were somehow connected to like a trip to Florida where I was going to wear a bikini, right? So it was, I would trick myself into like, oh, this is healthy. I need to cleanse. But there was always like some other.
Right. Right. Oh, just so happens I'm doing a cleanse just a week before I'm going to be in a bikini, but I'm
Right,
just doing it for my health, like, no, no, no.
right,
This is for my health.
right. Absolutely. So I did this for years, right? Every new plan. So what I realized is that I was such a good girl. I was such a rule follower because I remember going out to happy hour with my friends while being on a cleanse, just because, I didn't want to miss happy hour and drinking water. And, I remember my friends saying, how could you do this? They're eating appetizers and drinking wine and all sorts of things. And honestly, like I didn't feel like I was depriving myself. It was something like whenever I was in that mode of a plan, I was like on point. So I still had a good time, but I would, deprive myself of joining in and having a nice meal. Um, and so I realized, well, there's a problem if as soon as I'm done with this plan, then I go right back to then eating too much, eating the wrong things, eating a bunch of cookies. And, for the most part, I usually cook at home. I always cook. I buy fruits, veggies, but I like some cookies, right? And I like the chips. And so I would find myself just like binging on that and not always understanding, well, a couple of things. I would start questioning, like, am I actually hungry? I'm like eating all these chips. Like, why am I eating this? Am I hungry? Or what is going on? Um, and so I just felt really stuck and trapped. I was always thinking about food. Whenever I would go to a party, right, I would take a look at what was there. And, I would right from the beginning say, okay, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. But you know what? Then I would obsess the whole time. Like, ooh, maybe I should just have a cupcake. Maybe I shouldn't have a cupcake. Maybe I will have a cupcake. And then when I would feel guilty the whole entire time. So it was just like I never felt good about it, right? Never
Yeah.
felt good about what I was eating. So it was just really
Okay.
hard.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what you're bringing to the conversation that I think is really important to highlight is when I use the term set free, I think about women who go to these parties and, you're supposed to be living your life and having fun and enjoying yourself
Mm-hmm.
and dancing and having conversation and getting to know people and,
Right.
feeling alive, like feeling alive in that moment. And yet we're in our heads the entire time thinking, should I have the cupcake? I don't know if I should, if I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have the cupcake. And if I have the cupcake, maybe I could just do like a little, like 30 minutes extra on the treadmill tomorrow. Or I don't know do I even
Right.
have time for like this? That's not freedom to me. That is not
No,
freedom. And
no.
I've had women come into Wildly Alive who had lost a lot of weight. And the reason why they jumped into Wildly Alive is because they lost a lot of weight through extreme dieting. And they realized that their life is consumed in what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, how they should exercise, how they
Right.
shouldn't exercise. And so they come to Wildly Alive because of this whole word around freedom, where you can be healthy and you can be fit and be free at the same time. You don't need the rules. You don't need that stuff.
Right.
And so Jadira's example, I mean, how many of you listening can relate of like, yeah, I go to those parties and most of the time I'm in food strategy in my head the entire time and not really enjoying the party, but just trying to figure out what the good girl would do.
Right.
What's the good girl response? Like you bringing up good girl is so important too, because dieting tends to attract rule followers. Like they like the rules. They like the rules.
Right.
They're a rule follower. They're a good girl. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was really good that you brought that up for sure. Okay. So what about
Yeah.
Wildly Alive kind of called to you and why you decided to jump into mastery? And then let's discuss like how your relationship with food is now that you've gone through the full
Yes.
year and really experienced some eating pillar classes where we really, really dove deeply into this.
Yes. So I remember exactly when I saw your post and I saw Wildly Alive. First of all, the name just called to me. Um, and, it was the Emotional Eating Mastery 3-day masterclass. And I remember thinking, I need, this is something that I want to do. And at that time, I definitely felt like I need this, right? Like I'm seeing this for a reason. I remember where I was. We were in the Outer Banks in North Carolina with my family. This was in 2020 around COVID. And I decided we needed to go to the beach. And, I just needed a break and it was awesome. So I remember I was there and it was the first day. So I started listening. And right from the beginning, the concepts that you spoke about, and I don't remember if it was during that time, but I remember hearing body-led eating. And I remember and trusting yourself around the food. And, I remember thinking, okay, well, I don't trust myself around food and I never have. I don't think my body would actually guide me to eat the right things because if I listen to my body, I might just be eating chips and cookies and pizza and French fries, right? So these were all things that I struggled with. And I just thought, okay, this is what I need to hear. Like, I want to learn more about this. And as soon as I started hearing your concepts, and one of them was about the hunger scale. One of the things that I talked about was not really knowing whether I was eating because I was hungry or not. And so just really learning how to connect with my body. Those were things that just were, they spoke to me and it felt really natural. Like when I heard your concepts, Nichole, about trusting your body, listening to your body, right? Your body being like a plant, right? That you need to nurture it and really taking care of yourself that way. It just felt like this is where I belong. Like I'm like, all of this makes so much sense to me. And it's the opposite of what I've been doing all of my life, but this feels really good. And man, that's why, like, after I think I did that 3-day, and then there was another, I joined in for maybe like a 10-day, I can't remember what it was right after that. And the more that I listened, and I started applying the concepts pretty quickly, like pretty early on. And I remember one of the things was just like really listening to your body. So, am I like not letting myself get into like like a place where I'm starving, because then I will make terrible choices, which is exactly what I would do. But just like really paying attention and slowing down when I eat, and listening to my body when when she starts getting satisfied, right, and stopping, and knowing that when I'm hungry, it's time to eat. And if I start grabbing the cookies, right, when I'm not really hungry, then maybe connecting with my body and asking myself, like, okay, what's going on? Why am I reaching for these cookies when I'm really not hungry? So all of those concepts together just started making so much sense to me. And it worked, right? Like I remember catching myself in the kitchen and saying, okay, slow down, putting my hand on my heart and just breathing and slowing down, and realizing like, oh, I'm upset because, I got into an argument with someone a few days ago and I didn't deal with it. I just ignored it. I pushed it down, right? But here it's coming up, right? Where here I'm standing and like eating the cookies. And it worked. I remember saying, oh, I don't really want the cookie. I just am trying to figure out what's going on and process my feelings. And, the concept of like nervous system, like the nervous system response, and how sometimes we're on automatic. And I really think that's what it was. Like I would just go, like I almost felt like I was completely like an out of body experience, where I would start eating and I didn't even realize what I was doing. Right. And so really, I think that nervous system response was like this automatic thing that I would do when I was upset. So I'm upset and I would just automatically do it without thinking about it. So I had to jump into mastery.
Let's expand on that just a minute.
Okay.
So everyone listening can kind of understand. So when we talk about a nervous system response, another way of saying this is like a trauma response. So our relationship with food is far more complex than I think most of us realize. And as, I lead this class, we really just started peeling back the onion of like our relationship with food and what is kind of at the core. And it could be a source of control, right? So if you're feeling out of control, like Jadira just gave a really great example, is if we aren't given the tools to manage our emotions and we don't know how to deal with disappointment or sadness in our bodies, and we're feeling an overwhelming amount of feelings and we can't control them, then we can easily just go to food to control. Like, or our life feels out of control. Maybe our marriage feels out of control. Maybe our kids feel out of control. Our house feels out of control. Something feels out of control. It can be a knee-jerk reaction of like, I need control, so I'm going to rely on my relationship with food, right? And this can stem all the way back to our childhood, which once I start bringing up parenting and stuff like that, I just need everyone who is parents to just take a deep breath, because I am not free of, falling into these behaviors. This is what has been passed down to us generation after generation. We cannot change something that we're not aware of, and we cannot change something that we are just going to shame ourselves for. Like, we just need, as again, I bring up some of these things, I think it can be really easy for parents to be like, oh crap, I totally do that. Just don't go into a place of shame about it, because we didn't realize that this could be. But a really great way, an unconscious way that we can control our children is with their food, right? And again, like when we say like nervous system response, trauma response, if a parent is trying to gain control over their child and using food as the manipulation tool, is, we can get triggered, with throughout our lives with this whole thing. And this is, we talk about this whole idea of like, there's this mother-daughter relationship with food. We have this inner mother and we have this inner daughter, rebel. And so the mother is you got to follow the rules. You got to eat the good food. You have to eat that low calorie food. And then eventually what happens is your inner teenager, your inner rebel, comes out and says, eventually, you can't tell me what to eat and then you binge, right? So this is kind of playing into that whole concept as well. So again, just to kind of wrap this up so you can kind of understand it, is sometimes when we are in relationship with food, it could be a nervous system response. It could be from a place of trauma, which I know that word is big and hairy and scary. And some people can think they're, like, how does food and trauma are interrelated? But we, like, food, water, shelter, right? It's one of our basic needs. And, if it was taken away from us, or we were told that we can't have certain foods because our bodies need to look certain ways, like our moms told us we couldn't have seconds, or took us to Weight Watchers when we were 12, like, there is a lot of emotion around food. And so, like, recognizing that sometimes you're being pulled to the food because your nervous system is kind of inflamed is this whole idea that Jadira is talking about, of like breathing and connecting with your body and slowing yourself down, and emotional mastery and awareness that your body is in this kind of heightened state, and using the tools to relax your body. So then you can navigate, am I even really hungry? What is really going on? Do I have some emotion to process? Is this just, a response because I want to be in control and I'm feeling out of control, right? Opening up a conversation between you and your body to figure out the food is just an outlet. And it's like, oh, okay, my body's actually trying to tell me something. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Jadira. That was a good point.
And Nichole, this is so different. All of these concepts are so different than everything that I ever did. And as soon as I started just tapping into the hunger scale, right? Just connecting with my body and listening to my body, and like really establishing that relationship that I trusted my body, because I didn't trust my body to make the right decisions before, right? So learning how to do all those things and putting all those things into practice, wow. I mean, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this. And honestly, it goes to show, right, that intellectually I was able to follow the rules, but it never worked. But when I started tapping into like my body and connecting with my body and understanding what she needs, that has just been life-changing for me. Yeah, I'm not struggling. I mean, I can't even, I was a teenager when I started college. I've been doing all of this for most of my life. And now I literally, like, it's the perfect name for the class, Set Free. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, I have no anxiety around, because I used to get stressed out. I can go anywhere. I can make decisions about what I want to eat because I'm a grown ass woman, right? Like, I can make those decisions for myself. Like, I make the decisions. The food doesn't control me. I mean, so many amazing concepts that I just can't even, I don't know. There's so much more, but the tools are just, they've been amazing.
Yeah. So we talk about all this stuff in the Set Free class of like, yeah, you're a grown ass woman. You can make your own choices, which is a really empowering. It has a little bit of a double-edged sword, which we came to figure out when we started talking about it, of, sometimes this kind of rebel can kind of come out and be like, I'm a grown ass woman. But it's like, okay, is this your inner rebel, or is this your empowered woman making this choice? Right. Yes. It's like, I'm a grown ass woman who is wise and intelligent, and I can make my own food choices. I don't need a plan. I don't need people telling me what I can and cannot eat.
Right.
And like really being in this place of empowerment, and like we really explore all of this in the Set Free class. And we actually have a free experience that you can go through called Effortless Eating. So if you are interested in that, it's going to take place in the beginning of April. And just look around this video or this audio, you can find the link, you can jump in, and you can really start exploring some of these concepts for yourself to see if jumping into Set Free would be good for you for the class of within Wildly Alive Mastery. But, with each podcast, we like to give you an awakening activity. And so Jadira brought up the hunger scale. So within Set Free, Well, if you jump into mastery, even if you just jump in for 1 month in the class, you get this little like index card. We're looking into turning them into magnets, which is making me think we did order some magnets. They should be here soon. Magnets that you can put on your fridge. And so on one side, it's the food lover concept, which we won't get into today, but you have probably heard about that if you've been in the Wildly Alive world for a while. And the other concept is the hunger scale. So the hunger scale, these are both really great tools to start body-led eating. These are the two foundational tools to start body-led eating, which means letting your body lead your food choices. And so, excuse me, the hunger scale is a concept that really just brings you back into your body while you're eating. And what often happens when women are exploring this food lover or this hunger scale is they realize, wow, I'm not even aware of how my body feels when I'm eating. Because often we are distracted, but often we just haven't been given the tools to feel our body as we are eating, to feel our belly fill up, to feel our fullness. You know, and some people get really annoyed by this whole concept of hunger and fullness of like, you know, like, oh yes, it's like, you know, I get it, like hunger and fullness, like just stop when you're full and eat when you're hungry. But and so they're a little annoyed by it. The reason why they're annoyed by it is because they haven't been given the tools on how to actually feel what it feels like to be hungry and to be full and to be satisfied, and how that actually feels in your specific body. And so that's what the hunger scale gives you. It gives you this process that you can go through to start feeling out for yourself what hunger and fullness feels like. Okay. So I'm going to give this to you. This, if you would like to write it down, if you want to grab a pen and paper, I highly suggest you do that and start practicing this for yourself. Put it on a sticky note, put it at your dining room table. That's what we did before. We gave these now magnets that you can just pull off your fridge and take to your dining room table. So
I have it on my refrigerator. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's just such, and then eventually you just know, like, you know, this is not something that you would have for the rest of your life. If you follow it, you get to know your body. You get to know how it feels to be famished, starving, and how it feels to be stuffed and bloated. I mean, most of the time we do know how it feels to be stuffed and bloated, but we figure it out when it's a little too late. And this process slows you down and gets you present, so then you can go through this number sequence and recognize, oh, I'm starting to feel satisfied. I think I'm about done. It's not based on what my plate looks like. It's based on how I'm feeling. It's based in respect of the body, right? Because again, and we really dive into this in Set Free, is when we force ourselves to finish the plate, we think, okay, if there was like, you know, a 6-year-old girl and she says, I'm full. Now, okay, I know this, I have a 6-year-old. Okay. So I understand they like to manipulate, and I kind of can be a little hairy sometimes with kids, and like, cause I've taught this to Wyatt, and, you know, eventually he would start being like, you know, Mom, my belly is saying that it's full. Can I have dessert now? And I'm like, okay, well, we need to harness this a little bit more, like have more conversation. But anyway, if a little girl was legitimately like, my belly is full, I'm full, I'm done, you would not be like, you finish that plate.
Right. You would not.
Plate. And okay, we're going into parenting again, and we're probably thinking, oh my gosh, my mom did this exact same thing to me. It's borderline abusive to the body to force the body to eat when it's full, right? This is where this concept just gets really, really complex and deep and big, and like, whoa, okay. So I was taught at a really young age to negate my body, to tell my body, yeah, I hear you. You say you're full, but I have all this stuff left on my plate and I'm going to finish it. Right? I know the word abusive is like intense, but it's true. It's true. If we would be like, well, you're going to finish that plate. I don't care if you're full. You're going to finish it and you're going to stuff it all into your belly and you're going to be stuffed and bloated. And that's essentially what we're doing to ourselves.
Yeah,
it's abusive. It's abusive.
Mm-hmm.
If the body was little girl, you know, like
we wouldn't do that. We
right.
wouldn't do that. And I love how you brought up the respect part, Nichole, because that has also been a key for me. I will ask myself, okay, out of respect for my body, right?
Yes.
What does my body want to eat? Like, let me listen to my body. What does my body want to eat? Is my body full? Because respect that's a heavy word, right? And so I want to take care of my body. I want to respect myself. And out of respect, I'm going to make the right choices.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Is this a respectful choice to just finish my plate because I want to finish my plate, even though it's clear that my belly is full, right? And really like having this honest heart-to-heart conversation with yourself is like, what are you trying to prove here? Like to finish your plate. Again, this is where the nervous system response really comes in.
Yeah.
And like this mother-daughter like relationship that we can have with ourselves in food, which again, like all throughout this podcast, we're talking about this. So if this is just your first episode, make sure you listen to the other 3 episodes that are a part of this eating pillar series, because we really start to reveal some of this stuff and I give you an awakening activity after each one. So something that you can really try out for yourself. Okay. So here's the hunger scale if you want to write this down. Okay. So on number 0 to 1 is you are famished, you are starving. Okay. So it's on a scale of 0 to 5. Okay. And so a 0 to 1 is like you are famished, you are starving. You really do not want to get yourself to a 0 or a 1. Because once we get ourselves to starving, that's when all respectful choices go out. It's like, it's a bottomless pit. You're like, I don't really care what I'm eating. I just need food in my belly now. Right. So we never want to get to that point. But it's important to know where it's at on the scale. And then 2 is you're hungry and you need to eat. This is where we want to start eating. We want to start eating at a 2. You're not starving. You don't got the shakes, your blood sugar isn't dropping. You're not hangry. You're just like, okay, like I can feel myself kind of getting a little bit, this again, like this has you really drop into your body, which most eating programs don't have you drop into the body. The body isn't even a part of the equation. It's like all mathematics. It's like all an equation. And it's like, okay, true freedom around food has nothing to do with numbers. Nothing. Has everything to do with your conversation with your body. Okay. And then 3 to 3.5, so 3 to 3.5 is you can feel your belly starting to fill up. So you've had a few bites, you've had a quarter of your meal, you can start, you're feeling the food kind of land in your belly and it's feeling good, like after, when you're at a point where you're hungry and you start eating, it feels good to get some food in your belly. That's where you're just starting to eat and it's feeling good. And then you move to a 4. You're not full, but you're getting satisfied, right? So you're getting there, you're making your way there. Maybe you're halfway through. It obviously depends on your portion size and how hungry you are and all those things. But, and then 4.5 is you're starting to push your body past its limit. So we want to stop eating between a 4 and a 4.5. So I say at 4.5 is they say you tend to take a really deep breath when you're about done. Like you're like, maybe you lean back in your chair a little bit, okay, I'm leaning back in my chair. I'm taking a deep breath. I'm probably about done. Like maybe a bite, maybe not even a bite. And if you're really aware, and this is what's really cool, if you're really aware, you really do take a deep breath and you sit back when you're about done. But then you get triggered and you're like, well, I got to finish all this food. It's just so good. Well, if it's so good, you can have seconds tomorrow, like you can have it later on. Right. And then a 5 is you're stuffed and bloated and you're walking out of that restaurant feeling
you wish you would have stopped.
Yeah,
you wish you would have stopped.
Yeah, it's just not good. You don't feel
No.
good. You're like farting and gassy. You pushed your body past her limit. Like you don't even want to like get up. Oh gosh, you don't even want to get up. You don't even want to move. You're just like,
Right. And when
oh,
you get up, it's the worst. You're like, oh, why did I do that?
yeah.
So yeah.
Everything. Yeah. And so it, it's just a really, really great tool to start tuning in. Like, where am I? Where am I? I'm sitting down, I'm getting ready to choose what I want for lunch. Where am I on the scale? Am I starving? Am I just like hungry and ready to eat? Okay, this is where I want to be. And then as you're eating, and like, it's just important to just start asking yourself, and again, when women start putting this into play, they're always like, wow, I've never even stopped and thought about how my belly is feeling right now.
Right.
And so, and there is some confusion of like, I can't even feel it. Did you feel that way, Jadira?
So, I mean, part of it was that at first I wasn't sure, like, am I even hungry? Like when I started, focusing on the hunger scale, like it took me a while to realize, okay, well, oh, I'm starving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, now I'm hungry. Or I used to get too full because I grew up during a time where I had to finish everything on my plate.
Right.
And I would finish everything on my plate.
Right.
Even if I was full, and then I would feel awful. So it took me a while, Nichole, to get to the point where I'm like, I'm hungry, but this is like the perfect time to eat. Like, okay, I'm not starving. I'm not waiting too long, right? But my body, like, this is what it feels like to be hungry. And this is what it feels like to be satisfied. And it's okay if I only ate half of my sandwich, because for whatever reason, that's all my body wanted right now, right? It's like that relationship and trusting my body is huge, and like really listening to her, right? It took me a while. It took me a little while. And like you said, I don't need to look at the fridge anymore. I don't really need to look at it because I know what it feels like.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah. And so, like it again, with a lot of the concepts within Wildly Alive, you've got to give yourself a little bit of grace, because just like Jadira said, it's like nothing that we've been taught. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve. You've got to cut yourself a little bit of slack. And so if you start applying it and you're like, well, I can't even feel my stomach. Maybe I'm just somebody who just can't feel my stomach. It's normal. Give yourself a moment. This is a conversation that you're starting between you and your body, and a conversation that has been fractured for far too long. Probably your whole life into your childhood, because you were taught as a child not even to listen to your body. You have to finish your plate, right? Like, again, like I know our parents, and we as parents, we did not do this to harm or abuse our children. Like I want to make that really clear. This is just something that has been passed down to us, and the only way we're going to create change and empower people to have a good relationship with their body around food is to start having these conversations and start changing the narrative of like, okay, are you full? Like, that's the question I always ask Wyatt. It's like, is your belly full right now? And yes, of course, he does use the tactic of, yeah, my belly's full. Can I have dessert? And we're like, oh, no, like your belly obviously isn't full if you have room for dessert, which opens up the conversation for something else, which we talk about in Set Free. But yeah, I want you to try the hunger scale. And if you want to really dive into some of these concepts with us, we're going to do a free 3-day experience called Effortless Eating, where you can come in and you can get some free trainings on this, and we can dive even deeper, and you can see if this is something that you really want to start healing for yourself, so you can be set free in the food area. And then if you want to jump into this class in Wildly Alive Mastery, you can always do that as well. It's a really good way to just dip your toe in and see if it's your jam or not. So just look around this video or audio, and all of the links are around here. So any last words, Jadira, before we go?
Well, so the one thing that I want to say is that I love all the tools. Everything that I've learned in Wildly Alive is something that I have in my back pocket or in my front pocket, right? Because I'm human, right? I might fall back into that, oh shoot, why am I eating so much when I'm not really hungry? But I can go back to the tools, right? And I can forgive myself and just really, um, notice what's going on and then get right back to doing what works. And
Mhm.
so just think it's important to notice that it is like you establish this relationship, right? And I honestly, I want to say if I can do it, anybody can do it. I never thought that I would feel so at ease around food, that I wouldn't constantly be thinking about what I could or couldn't eat. So if I could do it, you can do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, sisters, thank you so much for tuning in. And as usual, when in doubt, ask your body. All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. I really hope you took some notes and you wrote down the hunger scale so you can really give it a try. I promise if you really put this into action, it will change your relationship with food and you'll really feel a level of freedom like you never have before. But you've got to take some action, right? And for those of you who are listening to this early on, as it's closer to its release date, we are offering a free experience, as I mentioned, called Effortless Eating. This is about releasing the stress and making healthy eating easy again. It's going to be a 3-part video series packed with so much content to really start shifting your relationship with food like you never have before. So look for the link around this video. Sign up and you will be able to get access to that. If not, move on to the next episode where you will meet Wildly Alive mentor Becky, and she shares her experience from years of dieting, counting macros, right before she joined Wildly Alive. So you can just visit sameteampodcast.com to access the next podcast, where I also share with you the food lover concept. Enjoy!